Hey guys, it's Sign here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, today we're doing another manga review. Today we're finishing off with the current stuff that I have for Slam Dunk. So that's books 5, 6, and 7. And that's actually chapters 49 through 71. This is written by Takehiko Inoue. It's published by Panini Manga Mexico, or at least these editions are. Let's see if I can show you the spines of all of them together. There you go. You see Panini right there, and it says Mexico right there. And this is a shonen, obviously. This is a sports series. It's basketball specifically, and it does have an adaptation. You can watch it on Netflix, or at least you can watch the movie on Netflix. I don't know where you can watch the original series. I'm guessing Crunchyroll, but I'm not really sure. And the rating for this part of the story was a 4.5 out of 5. I think that after the game with Royhan, we finally got some development to the characters that isn't directly related to basketball. And I think this is interesting because I thought that the characters that were brought up were kind of cool, right? So the premise here is that after the game with Royhan, the boys are hyped for the upcoming tournament, and then a new character shows up to develop our team, and an old character that we haven't really met before, but the characters have history with, also shows up, and this is also for development of the team. So broadly speaking, this is kind of like a return to the delinquent vibe of the first chapter. Ultimately, I guess that Slam Dunk is delinquents turning to basketball to be better, which I think is cool. So the plotline here opens up with Sakuragi, who needs to go buy new shoes. He ran through his old shoes through the scrimmage game, and Haruko takes him to get them, and he has to buy some specific basketball shoes. And so he decides to get some Jordan Air 1s, but he actually buys them off the shop owner. He gets them used, and even though they're actually collector shoes, so he should have paid more for them than they were brand new, he got the guy down to a pretty easy price for him to afford, which is like 70 yen or something. It was like something ridiculous. But the guy, a kind of funny twist was like, okay, I hope this guy turns into a great player so that I can say that I sold him his first pair of shoes, right? And then when they get to practice, Sakuragi's shoes get stomped on. And I thought this was funny for two reasons. One, it's not something that I've really ever seen Americans do, but I have seen Mexican people do this, right? When you start using a new pair of shoes, people will stomp on them to kind of make them ugly because you're showing off, right? So I don't know. I think it's kind of funny that this happened. I did not know that this was a thing that they did in Japan, or maybe it's not something they do in Japan. I think it might be only like a basketball thing, since they mentioned, this is so that your shoes can get flexible quicker, right? Which I think is bullshit, but whatever. And then Sakuragi's boys, the four guys that he's friends with, the delinquent kids, find another character like Sakuragi, this other lover boy character whose name is Ryota Miyagi. And they see him get rejected by this cute girl and become depressed, and then he starts trying to fight them, and it's pretty funny. I actually really enjoy this character. It turns out that this Miyagi Ryota character loves Ayako the same way that Sakuragi loves Haruko. And he's in trouble with some classmates for having kicked their ass the previous year. Mitsui is the guy that he got beat up, wants revenge because he showed up and he really hates Miyagi for some reason, and he got his shit rocked. Miyagi actually, I think, busted all of his teeth, and so he really hates Miyagi for having ruined his face, right? Although he's the one that deserved it. He looked for this sort of trouble, and Miyagi was very willing to give it to him. So as Miyagi comes back to school and Mitsui finds him, Sakuragi and Ayako show up and they disrupt this fight, right? They try their best to get them apart. Ayako and Haruko stop them. The boys get to practice. Then Miyagi ends up showing off. He ends up being the ace of the team in a way that, Akagi isn't. Akagi is like the center pillar of the team. Kogure, with the guy with the glasses, right? He is kind of like the support character. But Miyagi is the guy that scores, right? And so he shows off, and this makes Sakuragi dislike him, right? He gets jealous at this guy being so awesome, and then they start fighting again. Akagi easily stops him, and eventually Ryota and Hanamichi become friends over their understanding of each other's unrequited love, right? They both understand that they love this character, either Ayako or Haruko, and they know that these girls don't love them back, at least not yet, or not in the way that they want, and so they understand each other, and they grow to become quite friendly with each other. And in all honesty, even though I would say Miyagi is a much more like calm, collected, cool kind of guy, as opposed to Hanamichi is like kind of riled up kind of guy, kind of cool guy aesthetic, they both are essentially the same sort of person. And so they really deeply understand each other quite easily and become very good friends through it, right? The next day, some assholes ride on into campus looking for trouble. They're looking for the basketball team and for the gym specifically, right? And Sakuragi's gang notices, and they try to keep them away. But it doesn't really work out. And they know that Sakuragi will get in trouble if these guys show up. So they try their best anyways, right? Akagi is out studying physics while the baddies get to the gym. And then they start mistreating the equipment. They start trying to ruin it. They start scuffing it up. They start messing with the gym, destroying this like sanctum of peace that the characters have, right? And Ryota tries to stop the conflict peacefully, immediately gets beat up because Ryota doesn't want to get, in trouble anymore. He doesn't want to go to the hospital again. And he wants to stop this as easily as possible. They don't really let him. And as Ryota is about to get seriously injured, Sakuragi and Rukawa step in. And Rukawa specifically can't hold back anymore. He's really upset at the way that they're treating the basketball equipment. He's upset of seeing his teammates get hurt. And he throws a punch. And trying to stop the fight forces Ayako to step in. Ayako gets bitch slapped to the side, hurt, across the face very badly, and this makes Ryota go crazy, right? Sakuragi tries to kind of keep Ryota safe. He keeps Mitsue from braining Ryota with I can't remember what it was. I think it was like some sort of like pole or something. I don't know where it came from. And then Sakuragi has to end up fighting the big guy, the guy that Mitsue brought in from outside, who happens to be some sort of, fighter of some sorts. And he gets a lot of hits. He takes a lot of hits. He's surrounded, and then his gang shows up, right? Yohei Mito, who is kind of the main guy after Sakuragi, Nozumi Takamiya, Yujiro Kusu, and Oichiro Noma. And they pick up the slack that the team is kind of creating, right? They support Hanamichi as he beats down this guy called Tetsuo. And he beats him in 7 punches. And each of the 7 punches represents someone that this guy has hurt on the team, or a person, or, something, right? And as the baddies try to run, Akagi arrives. He covers for them. He walks to Mitsui, and slaps him up. And then this is when we get the backstory, right? And it turns out that Mitsui was a star player. He got shown up by Akagi in their first year, and then he hurt his knee. And through the recovery process, his fear of injury made him run away from the team. And he holds a grudge for his own weakness, and he holds the team against it, right? And so this is what has made Mitsui lash out so much. And Ryota was just kind of a further development of that grudge, because Ryota was a basketball player. Ryota destroyed his face. And so this kind of hatred for everything kind of coalesced into this attack on the team, on the gym. And now that he's been beaten, he just releases all of that anger. He becomes sad and a poor child looking for help and angry. And Mitsui gets a second wind at this point before Coach Anzai shows up. And when he does, everything diffuses. It all just kind of falls apart. And Mitsui begs for a chance to play for the team again. And this was a great story because it really, I think, exemplifies what Slam Dunk is about. It's about like the power of sport, as it were, or the power of teamwork, or I don't know what the phrase, like the right phrase is, but basically it's a pretty well understood kind of concept, right? There's young people, they have a lot of emotions, they're struggling with themselves and with each other. How do you make them work together? How do you develop a way for them to mature? And for a lot of people, that's, sports, or joining a team, or developing some sort of connection with others through a shared goal, right? And I think that this works for all of humanity, right? And So this sort of sports series is really trying to develop that, right? The fact that most of the characters are delinquents in some sort, and that they feel themselves drawn to basketball, to this idea of teamwork and personal skill and a goal that everyone shares, really shows that there is this kind of value in developing the sports for young men, right? And young people in general. And Mitsue really is the kind of encompassing aspect of that. Like Hanamichi is too, because Hanamichi is a troublemaker, and through basketball he finds maturity, right? At least so far. But Mitsue is like the worst case scenario, and still basketball can save him, right? And so I really like that. I think it's cool. It's a bit kind of preachy and a bit ridiculous, maybe the way I'm phrasing it, but this sort of storytelling is valuable. There might be a lot of young, struggling guys that read this and realize, hey, maybe I can go join the basketball team. Maybe I can be a football player. Maybe I can be a boxer or whatever, right? Like, this sort of story resonates with a lot of people, and I really like it. I think it's cool. So characters-wise, Hanamichi's gang, they were introduced properly before, but I just never really remember their names. I remember Yohei because he's kind of the main guy, right? But Takamiya, Okusu, and Chichiro, I don't really remember them too much. Ryota Miyagi gets introduced. He's Shohaku's ace. He's an awesome guy. I really like him a lot. I think that he's a funnier version of Hanamichi. Although Hanamichi is a much more appealing character to me. I think he develops this personality of goofiness, but I would personally say that he's more of a calm, collected kind of guy. But they are, at the end of the day, they are kind of like the same character, right? So I like that. I think he's fun. Mitsue is an old member of the team. He's a dumbass asshole. And actually, I really appreciate the message behind this character, but with what happens in the next arc, I don't necessarily think I agree with it, right? This guy is a mess, and he's not like a lot of, he's kind of dangerous, right? Like this sort of desperate insanity of his is kind of a problem, right? And then Tetsuo is Mitsue's buddy. He's this asshole fighter character. And he's not a real character. He's not important to anything, but he's relevant to this arc, right? In terms of world building, we have none. In terms of artwork and fan service, there's no fan service. The artwork's pretty great. The fighting looks awesome, very kinetic. I think that's Takehiko Inoue's strength, his ability to develop motion through manga. And again, the grayscaling pieces look horrible, like very, very deeply disgusting. I really am upset that this, this collection has so much of that grayscale stuff. Like, it's supposed to be an upscale edition. It's supposed to be a really nice edition. And I guess this is what the originals look like or something, but I really wish they would have added color pages every time they had color pages instead of having some color pages and then a lot of grayscale, because the grayscale just looks horrible. It's really, really bad. Ratings wise, it's a 4.5 out of 5, like I said. Great character work, 2 new guys, really well done. I think that the message of this story is probably the best part so far. This is not the best arc. I think that Roinon scrimmage game was the best part, the best arc so far. But the message that this story tells is very, very high quality. I really like it a lot. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought down below, and see you guys later.